I'm glad that I was born in Glasgow. I'm glad that Glasgow's my hometown. I like the friendly folk in Glasgow and the feeling that they'll never let you down.
Glasgow, the dear green place, the city of smiles. The River Clyde, the wonderful Clyde, the river by which life flowed into Glasgow. It was the gateway to the world, and the world had an appetite for Scotland's quality. There are 13 bridges span the Clyde, and 3 of them, like this one, are pedestrian. Thousands of merchant ships from all over the world sailed up this river, bringing goods and people and returning with bulging cargo holds. They brought raw materials from the Empire to be processed by Scots expertise into all manner of manufactured goods. And there lies the Carrick, which sailed into Glasgow and stayed. For generations, the Clyde was home of one of the largest shipbuilding industries, with Yarrows, UCS, Fairfields building ships such as the Queen Mary, the Queen Elizabeth, the QE2. In fact, all major ships with the title Queen were built here, and the empresses such as the Empress of Britain, Japan and Ireland. And by the outbreak of World War I, the Clyde, deepened and dredged, was launching 1/3 of the world's steamships. Many of the shipyards have closed and the giant cranes lie still, but the River Clyde, now with salmon returning to its waters, will remain synonymous with Glasgow, and still they will sing about it.
I sing of a river I'm happy beside. The song that I sing is the song of the Clyde. Of all Scottish rivers it's dearest to me. It flows from Lead Hills all the way to the sea. It borders the orchards of Lanark so fair, meanders through meadows with streams gliding there. But from Glasgow to Greenock, with towns on each side, the hammer's ding-dong is the song of the Clyde. Oh, the River Clyde, the wonderful Clyde. The name now it thrills me and fills me with pride, and I'm satisfied whatever may betide. The sweetest of songs is the song of the
Today the Clydeside reflects the changes of the years. By the waterfront now are offices and houses and the Scottish Exhibition Centre. Glasgow has adapted well to change. Replacing the old traditional industries are light engineering, high-tech and a wide variety of commerce. People are flocking back to the city that's miles better. The streets are full of hustle and bustle. Friendly people, old and young. Much may have changed, but much still remains.
I'm glad that I was born in Glasgow. I'm glad that Glasgow's my hometown. I like the friendly folk in Glasgow and the feeling that they'll never let you down. Although it's not so pretty, it's still the only city that calls you back no matter where you roam. I'm glad that I was born in Glasgow. It's the only place that I call home. East End, West End, Glasgow Cross or Kelvin side. Gay streets, grey streets, I love them all because they're near the Clyde. I'm glad that I was born in Glasgow. I'm glad that Glasgow's my hometown. I like the friendly folk in Glasgow and the feeling that they'll never let you down. Although it's not so pretty, it's still the only city that calls you back no matter where you roam. I'm glad that I was born in Glasgow. It's the only place that I call home.
And how Glasgow has changed. This is what Charing Cross used to look like. And how it is now. A bustling Suckyhall Street and an equally busy Hope Street. Both still bustling, but with quite different traffic. There's a story about the policeman that when he arrested anybody in Suckyhall Street, he had to take them up to Bath Street in order to book them. The reason for this was quite simple. He couldn't spell Suckyhall. And this is the Suckyhall Centre, built on the site of the old Pettigrew and Stevens building. Anderson Cross. This used to be a busy thoroughfare. Now it's completely unrecognisable with a shopping and office complex and a new hotel and a roadway built over it. And here's the Jamaica Bridge over the River Clyde. It hasn't changed very much, just a different style of traffic. Argyle Street and Jamaica Street. This photograph was taken from the railway bridge, which is known as the Highlandman's Umbrella or the Hielandman's Umbrella, where the folk from the Western Isles would shelter and meet during visits to Glasgow. It was often raining, of course. It saved them buying an umbrella. And Glasgow Cross at the other end of Argyle Street, as it was and as it is. Glasgow's new Sheriff Court, built of Danish granite and Durham sandstone, it has won a major award for its design. Just left of centre, there's a mosque at Gorbals Cross. New buildings springing up all the time, but they mix well with the old. An acceptable and unique blend you won't find in many other cities. This is the cathedral at Clydeside, dedicated to St Andrew, the patron saint of our nation. But what would Glasgow be without the tenements? Though they're anything but common now, gutted and rebuilt both inside and out, yet still retaining their character, and the characters who live in them. So why not come inside and see what life was like just a few decades ago? It was gaslights in those days. I saw a barefoot lad today, and memory sent me far away to times and happenings long since past. The sands of time are running fast, as deep within my mind I see a barefoot lad that once was me, of folks and places all well kent, nostalgia of the tenement. 2 wally dugs upon the brace, "Ma, throw me o'er a gilly piece." The jawbox where I scrubbed my feet, the pipe clay patterns of the street. We little had of worldly pelf, a gilly pan upon the shelf, a jug or two at Christmas sent Nostalgia of the tenement.
I'll get by as long as I have you.
I'm reminded of the day I won 100 jories, stolen rides on backs of lorries, a gollywog deprived of hair, doon the water at the fair, the lobby and the kitchen press, the blankets and the old wood chest. Things of childly sentiment, nostalgia of the tenement. Hunch, curry hunch, and kick the can, the many barefoot miles we ran. Peaver, forfeits, gird and stick, release and moshi, take your pick. Those were our games in yesteryear, and little we knew of adult fear. Ragged, but happy and content. Nostalgia of the tenement. Are ye a billy or a dan? Somebody sent the cruelty man. Take your choice, cock or a hen, join the football team again. And though we didn't own a thing, some paper and a dod of string would make a ball that we could boot until the bobbies made us scoot up the closest through the pen. Nostalgia of the tenement. Well, that's how it was. Outside there are new homes rising from the old, like the flats there in the distance. Everywhere you look, the old and the new can be seen, like here at Charing Cross. And that's the famous fountain, a well-known landmark. Here's the Mitchell Library, the largest reference library in Europe, and just around the corner, the Mitchell Theatre, a popular focal point for the performing arts in Glasgow, one of many. Art of a more modern kind in Maryhill Road. Here at Queen's Cross, a redevelopment. These flats, refurbished from the old tenements, won a European award. And more changes just along the road. That's the old army barracks, now a shopping centre. Even the canal at Maryhill has been given a facelift and new lock gates. They're even fishing in it now, the water's so clean. Changes down at Govan too. Changing places for changing faces. But I wonder what the older Glaswegians would have thought. Those who helped build and defend the empire, like Lord Clyde, who served in the Crimean War and quelled the Indian Mutiny in 1858. And there's Queen Victoria, She first visited Glasgow in 1849, and by her side her faithful Albert. Oh, if only those statues could talk. They'd have a story or two to tell, and no doubt something to say to the pigeons. In fact, it was said that another royal, Mary Queen of Scots, once stayed in this, the oldest house in Glasgow, Province Lordship. Even it is surrounded by new buildings. St Enoch Square then, and now. And this is one of the stations of the Glasgow Underground, the first system of its kind in the world. Glasgow has 3 daily newspapers. A royal visitor, indeed, in the company of the Lord and Lady Provost of the city. Princess Square contains one of the many new shopping complexes in the city centre. Glasgow is different. Glasgow belongs to me and you. A city, after all, is its people, just as much as its buildings and its beauty. Souvenir shops do a roaring trade with gifts being bought by visitors from all over the world. But if it's a bargain you want, look no further than the barras, called after the wooden barrows from which traders used to ply their wares. Full of colour, chatter and everything from nails to antique furniture. At least that's what they would have you believe.
The horse is got, he's putting on a winner here. Blast the boat, flat, me, Mark, you always flat. Put the bloody cobbler. Hell lady, 50 pence a minute.
That's looking in your window. Look when you're looking at it. Just as nice. Tell you, by you buy the turn, it's well over £3 a yard. There's only half of those bits here. There's one, there's a good two, there's a good three, there's four. Tell you, there's 5 yards. Any good to anybody else cheap?
Yes, lady in the front.
Has anybody got 50 pence in their bag? Look at the bus, see if we get more money quick. Where's your sign? Tell 4. Tell Dougal, I normally charge $6.99. They're 5.5 yards here. 72 drops to clear it out. Give me $4.99 the big bit. Yeah, the big bit there, $4.99. Everyone's got the big bit for $4.99. You want 2 bits or 2 bits? 2 bits, Jerry. There's 1. 2 bits. Everyone's wanting a big bit girl for $4.99.
And of course there's always someone to give you a song.
Bit of penny in the wishing well. Is it all that I ask? Then our eyes make what a feeling I find. And I really
Not quite the class for the Barrowland Ballroom where Billy McGregor used to entertain the punters. It's not just in the barras that you'll hear the music of the streets, for the city centre is alive with music every day. A city of song, a city of smiles, a city of the people. And heading east of the city centre is something else for the people, the People's Palace, a living museum of Glasgow and its children.
Come along with me if you want to see the palace of the people, standing alone in the red sandstone with a big high dome and steeple. The place vibrates with Glasgow greats, for the working man they spoke. Be ye grave or gallus, take a trip to the palace that belongs to the Glasgow folk. It belongs to the Glasgow folk.
Next to the People's Palace is Glasgow Green on the banks of the Clyde. In fact, the name of Glasgow means dear green place. They've been having picnics with the wains here for as long as anyone can remember. And rowing. They've been playing football for a long time too. You never know, they could be the stars of tomorrow. Scotland, and Glasgow in particular, is world famous for its love of the game and its teams. Further east of Glasgow Green is Parkhead, home of Celtic Football Club, founded 100 years ago in 1888. Celtic is one of several senior Glasgow football clubs and is a previous winner of the prestigious European Cup. A normal Saturday match can attract an average of 25,000 people. The players mingle freely with the supporters before the game, signing autographs and posing for pictures. Officials and broadcasters discuss the game beforehand. Football supporters in Glasgow are among the noisiest in the world when it comes to cheering on their team. And what a day to remember for that young lad. Back towards the city centre is Scotland's national stadium, Hampden Park, home of the oldest club, Queen's Park. And on the other side of the city at Govan is Ibrox Park, one of the most modern in the country and home of Glasgow Rangers, previous holders of the European Cup Winners' Cup. Rangers and Celtic make up the Old Firm, the two senior clubs with long histories and many famous victories between them. It's the same story of large crowds and informality here. And from one of Scotland's most popular sports to another, one that was invented in Scotland, golf. This course at Hugganfield Park is one of 14 in the city, and many will remember taking a trip in the boats here in the loch or having a romantic Sunday afternoon walk. And they fish here too, for pike and perch. Another pleasant part of the city, the River Kelvin, and the Kelvin Hall, one of the oldest exhibition halls in Glasgow. It used to host industrial and commercial exhibitions and even a circus. It's now, amongst other things, an impressive £6 million indoor sports arena. Across the road, Kelvin Grove Art Gallery and the museum, built over an 8-year period between 1892 and 1900, and the permanent host building of the 1901 International Exhibition. Beside it, Kelvin Grove Park, and behind it, Glasgow University with its steeple dominating the west end of the city. This university is one of the oldest in the country. It has the largest medical school in which many famous doctors and surgeons were trained, and it also has the oldest engineering faculty. Glasgow has exported more than industrial goods. Her sons and daughters have gone out into the world and made their mark in the light of the knowledge and the experience gained here. Park Circus, built by the wealthy Victorians in the Georgian style. The Grosvenor Hotel, recently restored after a disastrous fire. Across the road, the Botanic Gardens, an oasis of tranquility in the middle of a busy city. To the other side of the city, in Pollok Park, which is the home of Scotland's main tourist attraction, the Burrell Gallery, a treasure trove of artistic riches housing more than 8,000 priceless objects. If the great outdoors tire you out, how about the great indoors? As well as the galleries and museums, there are the theatres. Glasgow is home of Scottish opera, Scottish ballet, the BBC Scottish Symphony Orchestra, the Scottish National Orchestra, and a variety of drama or light-hearted fun. But if it's Glasgow nostalgia you want, don't forget the Transport Museum. Here you can see the old trams and buses that used to roam the streets of Glasgow from Auchenshoogle to Maryhill.
There are many songs that speak about the beauties of Scottish spots like Lags and Rothsay Bay. By Loch Lomond's bank is now a tourist duty, and enough of bends and hills they cannot say. Ah, but when, oh when will someone write a ditty, a Glasgow song that never mentions booze? And though to lots of folks it may not seem so pretty, well, it depends again on individual views. Where else but Glasgow can you walk enchanted, and you know that everybody is your pal? Where the air is soft and sweet, with a lush green neath your feet, by that sparkling brook, the Maryhill Canal. Where the earth contains a wealth of precious metal, in the shape of tins by makers of renown. Where undiscovered joys are hidden in a corporation mitten. No, there isn't any place like Glasgow town. And where else but Glasgow can you get so quickly to Yoker, Giffnock, Bunside or Hawkheat? Where the driver's one idea is to petrify with fear, as though mounted on a bold and warlike steed. Where conductresses are really extra clever, as they count you out your change for half a crown. You feel quite sure that they resent you, always halfpennies they present you. No, there isn't any place like Glasgow town.
Queen Street Station, with all the links from Glasgow to the east and the north of Scotland. The central station. It may have a computerised system and departure board, but it can still be a pretty busy place at Glasgow Fair. But as busy as this, you certainly don't see as many travelling with suits and bowler hats today. Yes, a lot more casual. It's a lot easier to get about by road now. This is Townhead. And there's Captain George of Radio Clyde, letting drivers know what lies ahead.
23 minutes away from 9 o'clock, we're airborne over Glasgow again and checking out the city's traffic with Captain George and the Bars Iron Brew Eye in the Sky.
Thanks, Dave. Just over the Clyde Tunnel now, and as always, we've flown the north side of the city. The M8 motorway coming in from the Edinburgh side. The Conga line's well formed now, and it's down to about 15 miles an hour. 15 to
As I said, no more trams on the roads, but they're still running in Glasgow at the Garden Festival. There they are, young and old alike enjoying a trip in the tram. For the young it's a novelty, for the old, a time for remembering the good old days. The Garden Festival has been acclaimed as Scotland's biggest crowd puller since the Great Exhibition half a century ago. 120 acres on the banks of the Clyde with 6 theme parks from landscape and plants to maritime and science.
Isn't that a little sweetheart, eh? Wouldn't you just love one like that? Eh? Just hope yours is better behaved than that one. Maybe like a little tune while we're just waiting here. What'll we play you?
Bell's Bridge, specially built for the festival and linking pedestrians to the other side of the river, beside the SEC and that building there. That was one side of the old underground pedestrian walkway, a tunnel under the Clyde. It's now a very smart restaurant. And as the sun sets on dear old Glasgow, the buildings light up and the city comes alive.
Do you ever think of Glasgow in the days when we were young? O pantomime and music hall and the songs that we all sung. O fish and chips and tuppenny pies, oat cakes and tatty scones. The football match on a Saturday, the cheering and the groans. Do you mind the summer picnics on the bonny Cathkin Braes? Ah, we moaned about the weather, but that was just our ways. Or sailing down the bonny Clyde to Rothsay or Dunoon, and then coming back to Glasgow with our faces all burnt and brune. Or walking down Argyle Street, each lassie had a fella, and the folk that used to gather neath the healing man's umbrella. Do you mind when we went dancing, the lancers and the quadrilles? Our feet were as licht as feathers as we danced the some reels. We didn't seem to mind at all, though it wasn't a fancy ball, for we were quite convinced, aye, we were the best set in that hall. The times we went first fitting, we are friends at Hogmanay, and making resolutions that were broke on New Year's Day. Aye, golden days, carefree days, days of long ago, days that seem more golden now that the Connells burning low. So drink a cup to Glasgow, friends, and days o' lang, lang syne, when you and I were young, my dear, and the world was yours and mine.